Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to you, wherever you may be in the world. Thank you for being part of my journey. Newbies and returning visitors combined, I welcome all of you and I'm grateful to all of you. Anyway, kicking on to it today, I'm going to try and keep it brief as possible. Because I do tend to distract myself. If you're a returning visitor, you will know that. I end up heading off down the rabbit warren, as they say. Certainly, I hope, before I get into it though, I hope that life has been kind to you over the last week. I hope that you're well and healthy and happy. I've had a few challenges myself, nothing to moan about, but I've been addressing some fatigue type issues and I'm making some lifestyle changes. So, I expect to see some positive developments, I guess, going forward as far as my health and energy levels go. But without further ado, let's get into the chitter chatter, because today I want to speak to you about the old chestnut of striving for personal excellence and why this is a really good ethos, I guess, to carry with us. I invite you to put your own comments up, your own experiences as well, and what your thoughts are. Certainly, I heard of this, I guess I learned of it maybe about 2001, and I adopted it into my life practice, if you like. At the time, or over the years, as different times, I recognised that um, I could do better with things that I was doing, but I was doing the best that I could. But anyway, I'm sort of jumping ahead a little bit. It's actually something that I grew up with, and this is, I guess, one of the positive attributes of my own parents and what they shared with me, which was in the very early days, it certainly related to athletics. If I was running in races, I was never that peak athlete that won all the sprinting races or whatever. I was more your long distance runner. And of course, as a child, I used to get really upset about it, that I never ever got first. If I was lucky, I got a place, the third or whatever. And my parents used to say to me, it doesn't matter if you don't win the race. All that matters is that you gave it your best shot, right? And if you sincerely giving the best of what you can in any given circumstances, then the bottom line is you can't give any more than your best. And this is why striving for personal excellence is actually good, because it doesn't have to be just when we're running a race. Life is not about running a race anyway. Life is about a journey where we all end up at the same destination, and we get there at different points of time, as you know. But where it came back to me, I guess, when, like I say, probably about year 2000, 2001, life had given me a heap of challenges. I was raising my children on my own, and I was falling short of my own expectations. There was an aspect of me that knew what I wanted to be like. I had this vision of what a good mother is. I had visions of what a good human being were. And then I also found that I was measuring myself against my expectations and aspirations and feeling short of them. So I was disappointed in myself and I berated myself because I knew that I could do better or I should do better, but for some reason I wasn't doing better. So I felt quite bad about myself. So it took quite a while for me to turn that around and go, well, hang on a moment, where am I at with this? Okay, I'm not meeting my own expectations. I'm not being this idea of a perfect human being, but at the same time, I am actually doing the best that I can within my current circumstances. And I guess the real kick home message for me came probably, oh goodness me, I was caring for my children who probably were 5, 4 and 2 at the time, and I always used to see my kiddies. I'm just showing you or giving you an example of how this plays out in real life, where we judge ourselves harshly for no good reason, as it happens. Anyway, my kids were little, and I said to somebody that, my children were so wild and I could never get organised. I always felt like I looked like a frump and that the house was in disarray, and continually berating myself for not being this perfect mother housewife. And I shared with another woman in the town, because it was a small town, that there was another lady in the town and she had, I think it was 6 children under 7. These children were perfect angels whenever they went out. And she always looked amazing, glamorous. She had a wonderful figure and she was fit and healthy, always had her makeup and her hair done really well. And I said, I feel dreadful. I said, this woman can do all of this with 6 children. I said, and I've got 3, and I'm lucky to actually get my hair brushed before I walk outside the house. And anyway, where I'm going with this is that this third-party lady that I was talking to laughed, and she said, oh, goodness me, she said, don't compare yourself to her. She said, that lady takes Valium. If it wasn't for Valium, she wouldn't be able to cope with mothering 3 children. She said, and all of those children are actually sedated on medication. Now, I don't know how you feel about this, but I sort of, in that moment, realised that I was measuring myself against an unreal expectation, and that I would rather have my children being wild children as opposed to sedated children. I'm not trying to judge her, but I can't help but judge her. Okay, whatever. We've got different parenting styles. But anyway, where I'm going with this is that made me realise that actually I was going okay. So a lot of the time when we're comparing ourselves to other people, I guess, we're comparing ourselves against something that's not real. But I guess without going too far into it, because I do have another story that I was going to share with you, and it related to my personal relationship with my mother. And my mother did fall, to be honest, she fell short of my expectations. I wouldn't say that she has very high maternal instincts, but the point being that through this idea of striving for personal excellence and the idea that if you just try, you know what I mean? Nobody can ask more than that you tried your best. At some point in time, my mother, I caught her at a vulnerable moment, and she's not one to really be transparent with her feelings. But I caught her when she was vulnerable on the phone, and she shared with me that she didn't know what she had done for her children. There's a number of us to be judging her harshly. And I recall also, because I had that part of me at the time as well, I was a little bit bitter and twisted. And I remember thinking to myself, well, how long do you have, and how long is a piece of string do you really want us to get into this conversation? And I thought now is not the time, because she was obviously distressed. So I held my silence and I let her keep talking as I would with anybody else. And somewhere in the conversation, she said, I just tried to be the best that I could. And I thought, well, you know what? At the end of the day, who am I? Who is anybody to ask that a person be better than what they tried to be? If they can sincerely and honestly say to themselves that they did the best that they could within any given circumstances, that is all they've got to give. And there becomes a sense of self-forgiveness and acceptance in that moment. My relationship with my mother changed at that point in time, because I was able to accept that, okay, she failed to meet my expectations of what a mother should be, but, she did the best that she could. And then if I carry this idea and embed this striving for personal excellence within my own approach to life, I also have that answer for my children or anybody that might throw allegations at me down the track that, you didn't do good enough, or you weren't good enough, or you were not enough, or you fell short, or whatever. It's like, well, I'm sorry that you feel that way, but you know what? At any given time, I can honestly and say with all sincerity, I was doing the best that I could, and that I'll judge not, or ye shall be judged, because when you have walked my path in my shoes, then you can be a better judge of me and what I've done. But until that time, it is what it is. So there becomes a level of acceptance is where I'm going, and self-acceptance. And this is so important as part of our personal journey goes. But anyway, moving on, I'm going to now give you a channel update. So as far as channel content and updates go, I'm actually going to leave this slide up each week, basically to let you know where we are at with it, in the same way that I've done all the other yarning videos. But anyway, basically today's update on this particular playlist is I've been really busy working on the content. I've realised that there is a lot more that I actually need to give you as far as information goes than just the crystals itself, because this is about when we talk about using crystals, it's not just what they look like and how we're drawn to them and all the rest of it, but there's also this aspect of crystals which relates to the subconscious or the repressed messages and the healing aspects, and that's another story in itself. This business of the rabbit warren that I go down, or that little pathway where I distract myself, well, this is because it's when you start doing something that you realize where you need to add extra information. And so I have been working on the first specific video that I'm going to put on. By that I mean specific to crystals. And so I'm currently working on Amazonite, the content for that. And also, this is part of my ethos of striving for personal excellence. It comes in with that. So, how would I explain this? There's more. I realize as I put the content together that there's more than just saying you can use this crystal for X and Y. Okay, Amazonite is definitely a stone of communication, but it's far more than that. It's more. It includes things like the striations on the crystals. Because the crystals come in different colors, it doesn't matter what crystal you're buying. Okay, you can see here that you've got the bright blue, and then you have some that are more green, then you have some, when we're talking about Amazonite, they've got the white stripes through them, they may have fractures in them, and all of that relates to the messages and the healing properties of the crystals. So if I'm going to do justice to the content, I have to actually talk about these things. Because if you look at this particular image here, this is just, it's not necessarily a true representation of Amazonite, because I do believe, by the way, that these are the genuine article of Amazonite. But a lot of the time when you find Amazonite, it's got some really white stripes going through it. Now, I couldn't find a good image of this right now with the white stripes, but where Amazonite is, these are just examples, is a stone of communication, verbal expression, amongst many other things. It is also good for bones and the skeletal structure and that kind of thing. And also, if people have got calcification of the spine and stuff like that, the healing properties are associated with that. But if I was to give you, for example, these greeny type ones, the background, the smaller crystals, and say, there you go, use that for your spine. Look, you probably could, but the reality of it is that you would be far better off if you had spine and calcification and skeletal type issues, or suffered from bone fractures or whatever. You would actually be wanting, let me rephrase this a different way. If you would contact somebody who was able to pick and select crystals intuitively, and you said, just send me the one that you're guided to send me, and you had all of these conditions, I would be very surprised if you didn't get a piece of Amazonite that didn't have all the white stripes through it, okay? Because that's the way the universe works. Just my thoughts and understanding. But anyway, this is coming to this awareness as I put together this video has made me realize that I need to be doing something else for you guys. But I'm going to talk about that towards the end of this video. I'll just continue to update you. So if you've been watching the channel, you're going to know that the buying tips video has been loaded. And the other thing that you might not know, though, is that because I'm now putting together these videos again, I'm really revisiting the whole idea of crystal retailing and finding reputable retailers. And I can tell you that it has been almost shocking and horrifying for me at what is being sold, how it's being sold, how much it's being sold for, and all of this kind of thing. So it's actually prompting me to at least consider and explore whether or not I should start retailing crystals again, because at least that way people will know. You know what I mean? The whole idea is that you can be confident that what you purchase is genuine, and you will also know whether or not this is a good quality, a fair quality, if you're paying a fair price for a product. Because as with anybody, I love crystals so much that I think they're all fabulous, actually. I don't object, shall we say, to buying what might be called by a geologist an inferior quality of a crystal, as long as I'm not paying gem price for it, okay? So this is about a fair price for a fair product. And I don't know, I have reconnected. I'm in the process of reconnecting with some suppliers that I knew back in 2015. So, yeah, look, let me know if you can recommend retailers and leave your own thoughts and comments. You will also have seen anyway this week that I've loaded this video on caring for your crystals and storing them, and just to give you a few extra tips. And once again, you're welcome to put up your own comments either on this video in the whatever it is in the comment section, or actually go and visit the video, watch it, and leave your comments there. Now, just a reminder, all the videos I put up, I do break it down into chapters to make it easier for you. I also put up a video for attuning and programming your crystals ready for use. Now, I could have done more on that one, but I held back. And part of that is because sometimes I have a little bit of internal conflict about ethical and responsible teaching and sharing of information with people. So I don't know. I may do a part 2 to this one down the track. Not right now, though, because I'm a little busy, okay? I'm a little busy, and you're going to see why very soon. I'm building momentum. I'm almost there at what I consider to be the big surprise for you. But before I get there, I just want to make reference, obviously give the Reiki stuff an update, and that is to say, look, I've actually put that to the side. I'm prioritising, and I'm kind of finding that I'm drawn down this rabbit warren of the crystals. So the Reiki stuff is set aside unless somebody asks me to prioritize it. If you want me to prioritize it because it's something that you're interested in, let me know, because it won't take me much to actually get this done. A lot of the time I actually need to be asked before I can actually throw myself into something as a priority, and these Reiki manuals are part of that. But anyway, moving on from this, I'm currently working on, so this is the big surprise, guys. What has happened is, as I'm doing the Amazonite video, I've realized that I actually need to have a separate, I guess, information type video that explains to you guys how to interpret the messages of the crystals and how to apply their metaphysical properties toward your own self and your own overall well-being. Okay, so I'm not sure if I'm going to keep the video cover like this. This is just one that I've designed for now. I'm not sure if I'm going to change the title of it. But the point being that just touching on this, okay? If we say have an ache or a pain in the right side of the body as opposed to the left side of the body, it's going to carry a similar yet different interpretation or subconscious message, right? So let's use shoulders, for instance. I'll use the shoulders. So let's say that I have aches and pains in my right hand shoulder. Well, that's going to refer to feeling burden within my physical, perhaps work life, feeling obligations and struggling to actually meet all of my responsibilities might be it. And quite often this will show up when somebody has got a boss who's unreasonable and just keeps throwing tasks at them, and they're just really crumbling under the weight of it. So that will usually manifest on the right-hand side. However, if a person's got a shoulder injury on the left, that's usually family-related. And if it's not the family that's putting the burdens onto the person, it's the burdens they impose upon themselves with their sense of responsibility. You know, this could be like the father that has that traditional role model of, you know, I'm a male, I've got to be the provider and protector, and I'm experiencing uncertainty in the workplace or financial problems, and I don't feel that I'm able to meet my family responsibilities effectively. I feel like I'm letting my family down. You know, this kind of stuff is going to manifest in the left-hand shoulder, and that is usually kind of a wake-up call. And it's not always about the person beating themselves up. It could actually be that they really do have somebody at home that's turning around and saying to them, you're such a useless husband. You know, it's time to stand up. So when we get these injuries, it's like you need to do some internal reflection and look at some problem solving, because this is now starting to impact on your health. And it might have been that, in fact, I would say quite often, it's usually about poor boundaries. So it's about learning how to address these problems with positive outcomes. Now, before I close off, I want to acknowledge the fact with these interpretations, because I have worked in these remote areas and worked with a lot of men, I'm well aware that in the first instance, we have to be very clear with the disclaimer that we don't make promises that if you use a certain crystal, you're going to heal X and Y. We can't do that. It's not possible anyway. But the other thing is that when you're working with men who, actually, I say men, and this is because I was working in these areas where you had a lot of men, and they certainly were not in touch with their emotional or spiritual aspects. They were very much work related, and everything had to be logical, rational, physical, and tangible. So I might have them come to me for healing because I used to do massage as well, and I would throw the Reiki healing in. Anyway, quite often they might present with an injury, or I would pick up on it when I was doing the healing on them and say, you've got a shoulder injury here. We'll use the shoulders because this is commonplace. And quite often they would go into this reflexive denial that, no, it's got nothing to do with it. It's a work-related injury. I got it years ago, da-di-da, and it's right, well, okay, you still have the niggling of it. It hasn't completely healed. And they would go, yeah, I know that, right? Because that's what they do. Yeah, I know that. It does play up every now and again. You go, yeah, okay, so you haven't recently heard it. But if you cast your mind back to when this particular injury was sustained, what was going on in your life right then when you got the injury? Is it possible that these things that I mentioned to you may have been going on? And then they sit there and they will go, oh, yes, actually, that's right. Back then, not now. Back then, though, it was. You go, okay, thank you very much for the confirmation. Quite often, if they're particularly closed off before they arrive, they will do this whole this is really weird, but definitely becomes part of their process of growth, learning, and understanding, and opening their mind to more than just this physical and tangible life. So anyway, this is the video I'm working on, folks. It should be loaded next week. And before I close out for the day, and thank you very much for joining me, just a reminder that we've got these new not new, we've got all of these playlists now. And so there's a wide variety of information that you can actually go and access. The idea, I guess, is that in a way I'm building an online library, a library of video type information for you to access as part of your own growth and development. So feel free to go and check them out, have a look. Knock yourself out, as they say. So with all that said and done, I'd like to say thank you very much for being part of my journey. Today, thankfully, not too long a video, which that was the aim, so that's good. We're within the time frame. I'll try and make them shorter going forward. But until next week, I'm going to say have a wonderful day, blessed week, take care of yourselves, and catch you on the next video. Bye-bye for now.